Are you struggling with creating video content for your business, side hustle, or YouTube channel? Wave Video is here to help. It's the platform I recommend the most to small business marketers because it's a full suite of tools: video recorder, editor, easy to use templates, screen capturing, live streaming, GIFs, video to email, and believe it or not, even more. With Wave Video, you can easily create professional-looking videos for your website, social media, or ad campaigns in just minutes. Wave Video's intuitive drag-and-drop editor lets you add text, music, and animations to your videos, making them truly stand out from the crowd. So why wait? Sign up for Wave Video today and start creating videos that capture your audience's attention and drive results for your business. Tap the link in the episode description to get 10% off any paid plan. Wave Video. Create better video content in less time. Welcome to the Marketing Clarity Podcast, the show that was ready to record last week, but someone couldn't get their internet to work. I'm Ross Herosian, marketing and content coach. And I'm very excited to have as my co-host today, Craig Dacey, fellow coach. He's a money coach. I'm a marketing coach. Those are the things that we coach.
I can teach you how to cut corners on internet and how to save cost savings for quality of internet.
Yeah, he sure can, folks. Can tell you that. What a guy.
What a mess. You know, yeah. I tried to avoid you last week and you were just like, well, what about Thursday or Wednesday? And I was like,
God dang it.
I think my internet's going to not be working that day too.
Yeah. You kept saying that. I kept throwing out days and you're like, nah, I think the internet's going to be out that day too. But yeah. I trapped you. I really got you now.
You got me.
Your face. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You have internet. The sun is shining.
Internet is doing better. You know, it's been a little spotty, which has really affected my gaming, online gaming.
Yeah.
Luckily, Hogwarts is not online, so I've been unaffected by Hogwarts Legacy, but otherwise, good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Hogwarts has no online component. So, you are looked out there. Your wizard hasn't suffered too tremendously from a lack of online. I'm enjoying that. Harry Potter. Yeah. Well, it's not Harry Potter. Hogwarts Legacy game. My wizard is pretty baller. So.
What was his name again?
I don't know if his name's not important. His name, Craig, is not important. It's who shall not be named. He was the OG, actually. So
now, have you been having the problem of your wife overtaking your PlayStation because of Hogwarts?
No, surprisingly. Megan's not. I mean, she'll watch me play, but she doesn't really have an interest in. I even said to her, I said, if you want to play, we'll put it on like story mode because certainly no. I was going to say it's not a commentary on her gaming ability, but this is 100% a commentary on her gaming ability. She does not do well with the games where one stick you move and the other stick you have to move the camera.
Yeah.
You know, she's very old school, classic gaming where it's like, well, you don't have to control a camera also.
Yep.
So I think she would struggle with it, but we'll see. Because, I think she would enjoy it. The game is crazy immersive.
Well, take my advice and just tell her watching you is a great way to experience it because every time I go into my office, we get the kids to bed. It's like game time. I walk in there, and who's sitting there playing on my PlayStation? My wife. She's like addicted to it. She's a big Harry Potter nerd, so she's like, "There's so much lore and Easter eggs."
There
and
is.
I'm like, this is kind of my thing. You're
I thought you were going to say. Here's what I thought you were going to say. Take my advice and play, but give her a controller that's not turned on, and tell her she's playing. That's what I thought you were going to say. Like,
I mean,
and
it might work. It might work. Yeah.
Listen, but you guys can try it at home.
Don't give up the rights to your PlayStation. She keeps telling me, if you just let me play, I'll beat it and then I'll be done and you'll get to have your PlayStation back.
I don't agree.
So my solution is buy another PlayStation, but it's
Your money coach, folks. CraigDacey.com. That's right.
But
hey,
anyway,
man, if he's saying that, it's because he can afford to do it. You maybe can't. So don't worry about what Craig's doing. All right. He works with you one-on-one if you have money problems for your specific PlayStation sharing issues. He's here for you.
That's right. We want you to use your profit bonus for a PlayStation.
There you go. All right, we're not going to talk this whole podcast Hogwarts Legacy, I don't think. That's not what I had scheduled, but we could, but we're not. We could, but we're not. What we're actually going to talk about is something a lot more annoying and a lot more related to digital marketing, and that is this new wave of paid social media verification. So here's where I want to start. Craig, like what's kind of like your relationship with social media right now? You're a parent, you're you like gaming, you have a family, you have a business, but just like what's your relationship with social media? What are you on? Are you like what do you use a lot? What do you care about, not care about?
Yeah, my relationship's strictly business. So I even just 3 months ago or so, I deleted like every app pretty much on my phone that wasn't like a banking app, just because I felt like I was staring at my screen too much. So I've slowly detached. Also, you got me addicted to TikTok, so I'll just sit there and scroll through there like forever, endlessly. Thank you, Ross.
Sorry.
But with that's pretty much it. But now in the business, I do have the TikTok. I have the Instagram. I have the Facebook, but I really and the YouTube. They all have the in front of them, I'm pretty sure. But YouTube's my biggest one. So if we were talking about my favorite, that's the one I lean most into.
Oh, cool. So yeah, I mean, my relationship is really interesting. I am slightly older than you, I believe. Let's not talk about age, but I'm just going to wager a guess I'm slightly older than you. So I'm old enough, and maybe even you are too, not that far, old enough to remember, like when all this, the explosion of social media, how it seemed like every week there was a new platform, and how that was actually kind of exciting, right? At least to me at that time in my life, where it's like, oh, okay, you had Foursquare, and then Facebook, and this is not probably the accurate order, but Twitter and Instagram, and like Vine and TikTok, and some that are not even like MySpace going all the way. But like this concept of all of these, like it was like a social media spring. It was the era of social media software. Money was just flowing. People were starting these companies, and it was exciting for me, at least, again, to jump on these platforms, see what they were all about, try them out, work with them, play with them. That was neat. Fast forward now, I mean, hell, it feels like 15, 20 years later from that. And even as a digital marketer, it's like a burnout. Like I got to this point, like first off, where I was like, I think I've said everything funny that I can say. It's been said. I've said it. I'm not going to get any funnier. I'm not going to get any wittier. I've done it all. Okay. And then it morphed into, I kind of stopped on a personal side feeling this need to like, I need to post almost to impress. I know that many people may not feel like they're doing that, but I think it's a very real subconscious thing about being a heavy social media user. It's kind of like just keeping up with the Joneses. And that bleeds into when you're doing it as business also. Right? This whole like, whether it's imposter syndrome or you feel like, I got to keep up with this or that kind of thing. And then it kind of got into where my wife kept saying, like, get off the phone and like experience the things. And I think that was one of the biggest things that kind of like got me to really turn down how much I use social. I still have a Facebook account. I maybe go in once a month, right, to that. I have Twitter, but I really kind of just look at Twitter, like the trending stuff a couple times a day just to see what's going on there. And for sports, spurts, for basketball, mostly football. I think I'm actually on Reddit the most.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Reddit. I forget that's considered social media.
Like I'm just, but not as a business. I was just like, I love the Reddit experience.
So do I.
You know, I think it's just very good. I'm on YouTube is probably actually kind of like you, like my second biggest. I'll sit around and watch YouTube videos, whether they be instructional or just whatever, gaming or whatever, whatever. Do I need to tell you what's on YouTube? I don't think I do. No, I think I just bring this up because I think for both of us, it sounds like it's not like that this, social media plays this ever-present, huge part of our day-to-day. Is that a kind of a accurate statement to say?
Oh yeah, very accurate. I have to force myself at this point to remember to, once a day log into Facebook because we have a free Facebook group. So I got to approve members. But that's about all I'm logging in for. I'm in a band and we'll play, we'll run Facebook ads for our gigs. So sometimes I'll monitor that, but it's not I'm not enjoying, other than YouTube, I will have a lot of videos off to the side while I'm working, but and Twitch, I'll watch videos there too, but I don't enjoy or I don't scroll endlessly anymore for social reasons. Yeah, I don't
either. And there's a reason why I wanted to bring this up before we got in this conversation. It's because I think that this is not a trend just unique to two dudes, who are in or near their 40s, whatever it might be, middle age, right? I think that this trend of people weaning off of, getting burned out by social media is a very real concept. And I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast. I've just recently got into listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, which is freaking amazing. I really love it. It's a lot of sports talk, but he talks about other stuff. And they had an episode where he was talking about the future, just like future predictions. And he said something that I found like really interesting, and it kind of started the idea to even talk with you about this whole social media verification thing. And that's like, I wonder what we're going to look back on, that social media explosion era. I wonder how we're going to look back on that, and he likened it to even like, are we going to look back on that like we look back on smoking or without seatbelts, where you look back at it and you're like, geez, that was reckless, or geez, that was damaging. Because you see all these reports and things from like teenage mindset, and how even social media has like shaped culture for the better part of 20 years. Like how do you think we're going to look back on that?
Man, I agree with you. I think it's going to be this almost like dark spot and it's crazy because just the idea of social media, whoever it was, I don't know my history of, who just came up with that first idea of, LiveJournal or whatever the first one was, it just seems so harmless and connect with people. And even when you sign up for Facebook for the first time,
so positive.
Yeah. See people haven't seen in forever. And now it's just this dark polarizing hole. And, if you have anxieties about something, it's just going to reinforce those because it just learns about you and keeps pumping things in front of you. If you're a conspiracy theorist, it's going to pump more conspiracies in front of you. So it almost like feeds into some of your best and worst parts of yourself. And
it became less about the social aspect and more about this retention aspect.
Keeping you on there. Yeah. How can I keep you here?
Yeah. We want to keep you here. We're not as much interested in, this idea that you can kind of come and go a little bit further. We want to try and get our hooks in on you.
Yeah.
So now, as we sit here, we are now in this new era, time period of paid social media verification. So let me give the rundown for those of you out there that maybe aren't familiar with this. I'm sure many of you are. But Twitter most recently made waves because it decided to turn off two-factor authentication. And if you wanted that, you had to pay for it as part of their Twitter Blue subscription. Then, right after that, Facebook announced that they are launching the Meta Verified, which was a similar thing. You pay monthly. A lot of these, so Twitter Blue, looking at my notes here, it's interesting because, excuse me, they have two price points, one for desktop and one for iOS. And the iOS one is always higher, which I'll get to in a second. But so Twitter Blue is $8 a month as we're talking, and $11, $8 a month on desktop, $11 on iOS. Meta is $12 for the web and $15 for iOS. There's also a Snapchat Plus, which I didn't know about because I'm not on Snapchat. $3.99, which has a similar type of thing where you get the verification. Here's what verification essentially is touting: added privacy and security. And you know where that annoys me the most with these companies? Is it's like they're saying, hey, we were really shitty and continue to be really shitty with your privacy and your data. And and unabashedly.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you want it to be better, you can pay us.
Which is ridiculous.
Right? I mean, it's the other thing that these ones give you is there's two other big things. Access to customer support, which is the same vein. It's like, oh yeah, we're really shitty with customer support. Oh, you want customer support? Well, you can pay for it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Now, listen, I get it. I get business. Mm-hmm. You want to make it cost, some things cost money, and then you got to make money. Craig, do you understand what happens in business is some things cost money, and then you got to offset the cost with other more monies.
I've had that backwards. Oh,
yeah,
dang it.
That's surprising.
My poor clients. Yeah,
that's surprising as a money coach that you didn't get that, but I'm glad we've straightened it out.
Expenses should be more than income, right? No, that's what I've been saying for years.
You've been doing it wrong. Oh my God. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's also like these businesses have been making billions and billions of dollars. And social media has not been free. Right? You either you've been paying with your data.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the thing that just gets so entangled in this, is that I'm so annoyed by the balls on these platforms to be like, oh, you want these things made better? No, we have no money. It's like, get out of here with this. And the other thing is, they are adding in, if you're a Twitter Blue, if you're a Meta Verified, if you're a blah, 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 you're going to get increased reach and engagement.
I mean, you better. Really, this is just for people who are monetizing their social media, because this is not your everyday average Joe is going to want to be verified, right? I mean, maybe some who are like, yeah, I want my data protected, but...
I think on an individual stance, I think you're probably right. But people out there who are marketers, right, and use these channels for their marketing platforms, I mean, let's be real. These have been pay to play for a really long time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, organic reach has been poopy for years and years and years. So part of me is like, well, okay, at least they're calling it what it is. But then it's like, yeah, okay, so now you clearly recognize the problem. And this is the solution. And let's also be real about this. The second that any politician, celebrity tweets out something offensive, despite having the check mark of added security and verification, what do they always say? I've been hacked.
Yeah.
They're always going to get hacked. And I think maybe he uses hacked with air quotes. I've been hacked. And so why are these companies doing this? Well, I mean, we just talked about what's happening. Decreased revenue, users not really coming back, or not coming back as much. Are you an iPhone? You're an iPhone guy or an Android person?
Yeah,
Okay.
iPhone. Come on.
So, yeah, exactly. A big part of this also is because of Apple and the privacy, what do they call it? The app tracking transparency. So I know you said you downloaded or you've deleted a bunch of apps. Have you like downloaded a new app in the past 6 months on your phone, you think?
Yeah.
Has it asked you to share data?
Yeah, and I always say no.
Yeah, right? Right? Who are these people out there that are saying yes?
Yeah, why there's nothing enticing about the prompt at all. It's just like, it's literally, can we follow you when you do other things? And you're just like, no.
It's almost like, it's like an appeal to, the digital marketer of 5 years ago, where it's just like, well, I mean, I feel bad if I don't, because that's how I make a living, but no.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
and the other thing,
it's pretty black and white. And that's why I like it. And it's because it's an Apple prompt, but there's no like, because you would think maybe people could incentivize or, some kind of better experience, which I don't even know if that's legal or not, but it is very just, can we track you when you do other things? And yes
you're
or no.
right. Apple was incredibly intentional, I think, with that text. Yeah, I mean, it's basically like, hey, do you want this app to be allowed to follow you everywhere you go and get all your data? Yes or no? Yeah, you're right. It's not very ambiguous.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very straightforward.
It's
a real
funny.
thumb in the eye, particularly to Facebook and their ad business.
But when I first saw the prompt, I do remember being like, do I need to say, like how it's like, do you agree to these terms and agreements? Like if you say no, you don't get access. And so that's kind of the vibe. I was like, what happens if I hit no? Oh, nothing. I can still use the app as I would. Okay, great.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you're right. There's no consequence, because I think that would be even more disastrous for the app makers if they were like, oh, you're going to say no, and then you can't use the app at all.
Yeah, if we can't follow you around.
If we can't follow you, we're going to take our ball and go home. That's
right.
really what it would be like. And I think the other thing that's on the horizon of why we're seeing these new paid social platforms is the cookieless web. You love cookies. You love eating them. You always get crumbs in the bed. You're always in our meetings. You're always, I don't know why you eat like a whole sleeve of Oreos, which it seems unhealthy, but you do you.
I always have a cookie just, in the back of my mouth, just tucked away in my cheeks like a squirrel.
He has old Oreo cheeks. We call them. Internally, that's what I call them.
I just like to let them dissolve back there. I don't even chew them. They just slowly dissolve throughout the day.
Oh my God. It's like chew. It's like cookie chew. You just put them in. Do you have a spit? Do you have a spit bottle for the frosting or whatever?
It's just a glass of milk that I spit into and
oh God.
That's it.
Throw up.
I'll stop it, yeah.
Okay. God. Oh. So the cookies are going away, and cookies are those tracking things. Like you have first party cookies. These people you like first party cookies, Craig. Those are like, oh, you go to a website and it like remembers your name when you go to a form, right?
Yeah, because I hate it when I clear my cookies or I clear my history and I have to like type my login information again. Like, what is this? So,
yeah. Or it's like my address. Like, I don't want to, like, oh, those are okay. Those are good cookies. But it's the third party ones. Those are the like, you're on CNN.com and Facebook knows what articles you've read and blah, 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 blah. Or you go to Nike.com and you look at shoes and then those shoes follow you and show up on Instagram and Facebook. Those are third-party cookies, and those are going away mostly by Google, Chrome's design. Google's like, yeah, we're going to kill them. We're going to put those down. So I think it's interesting that you have Apple and Google making these very big decisions that I think are having huge impact, very specifically on Facebook, but I really think on even the other social platforms.
Yeah. I wonder, and that might just even be the next era. I'm curious about like how right now, in a good way, the last number of years, this generation really loves businesses that have some kind of social impact, that has a cause that they're serving, that they're contributing to. And so this is almost like a social impact piece where these companies are standing up and saying, we're not going to participate in this and we're going to help block it out. And I wonder if that's going to turn the tide where we look to those people as like that's a good thing. We know it's a good thing, but like that we would trust them more and are drawn to companies that are taking a stance against selling your data or mining your data or following you or whatever it is.
On that note, I want to ask you a question.
Do it.
Rank from worst to best. Like, what social platforms do you trust? And however you want to define trust. Like, what's the worst?
Oh, the worst. I'd probably trust Facebook the least.
Okay.
Which I guess Instagram probably goes hand in hand, although
because they're both
I feel like
meta, if you will.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's just because Facebook has so many more things on the sides and on the everywhere that I feel like they know what I'm doing more. Whereas Instagram, you're going to get an ad every few reels or whatever it is. That's probably my least ones I trust. And then, TikTok with all the stuff in the news, I'm a little weary of TikTok.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you feel like even, with the stuff in the news with TikTok, if Meta is still worse for you.
Maybe not, but it's probably because I don't engage with TikTok a whole lot. I'm not I'll post periodically. I need to get better at posting in general, but
yes, as your marketing coach, I know we talk about this, but go on.
Yeah, you're constantly like, did you turn that into a portrait mode? I'm like, totally did. It's on there. Did you not see it? I got flagged and taken down by those other countries. They stole my video.
Can't be shown in Scotland, which is where you have a huge follower.
I'm huge in Scotland. Dang
You're
it.
huge in Scotland.
So it's probably just more of like I said, a vibe thing because I'm probably more familiar with Facebook and I've just seen over the years more and more of that, and that's turned me away. Whereas I don't see a whole lot of it. It's under the surface for TikTok. There's a lot of shady stuff going on, but it's not so in my face.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing, just to go off on a tangent related to all the scuttlebutt about TikTok. I'm not necessarily going to sit here and say where there's smoke, there isn't fire, but I will say that the approach to dealing with it, I think, is incredibly short-sighted. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, oh, we're really unhappy with TikTok and how a foreign entity could have access to your data, but meanwhile, in our own soil, we have Meta, which, may just as much data, just as harmful, just as maybe more reckless with it, but we're not going to really address that. If we're going to, we're just going to ban TikTok, but literally put nothing else in place as it relates to privacy, control, any sort of regulation, litigate, anything for any of the other platforms.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really short-sighted. Now, as a small business marketer, and this is something I know we've talked about. I talk about it inside my Clarity community. Is like this is kind of something you do at least need to be aware of if you are leaning in on TikTok. That a ban could be coming this year. I think a ban could come. I think maybe they do spin off, because I do feel like the people who make TikTok, if there's a precedent set that a country can just ban them because they're tied to China, then the business is going to just completely collapse. Because once North America bans it, it's over, Johnny.
Yeah.
I just feel like we're suckers. We're always on our phones.
Always.
So,
we can't.
Yeah.
Well,
so I think it's just short-sighted. I would agree with you kind of in the order. I think Meta. Now you're not on Twitter, right? You don't do any of the tweet.
I have a Twitter. I will get on there during baseball.
I was going to say during baseball
season
for sports
to just keep track of the trade market, because that's usually where the news gets broken first. So
okay.
But otherwise, I don't post. I don't ever log in or open. I'm not active there at all.
Okay. So you feel? Do you feel more? I'd say safe about that platform only because it.
Nope.
No.
Yeah,
but you're not giving it as much food, if you will, as maybe you once did with Facebook or TikTok or whatever.
Yeah, and that's probably why Facebook's it, because I did feed Facebook for a long time. Yeah. Well, and I guess that bears the question too: how much of this is on the consumers? How much should we blame consumers? I mean, because it's not like I was blind to the fact that the Nikes I was looking at are showing up on Facebook. It's not like I didn't know.
Sure.
They're pretty outright, and people are outraged by it, yet we're still logging in and scrolling and posting and tagging and just whining and complaining that they're taking our data. Like, yeah, it's like we're feeding the bear and then getting mad that he's exactly. We're feeding the monster and then mad that he's coming back and wanting to eat more food. Like
you're so right.
Feeding him and we're mad that he's even eating the food we're giving him. So it's just, that's where I'm going. At what point are we to blame because we just can't let go of social media?
Man, that's eloquent. It's almost poetic. It's very, you know what this is? This is Frankenstein, a modern Prometheus story. You're totally right. We're sitting there and we're stitching together a giant Frankenstein leg to the corpse. And we're like, this guy, man, he is going to mess us up, and like, whatever. And then you're like, well, we need giant parts. We're going to make this giant monster. And then you're right. He comes to life and he attacks us. And we're like, whoa, where did that come from?
The whole time you're like, somebody should do something about this monster.